Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? So as you know, on this channel sometimes I do reviews of TV programs or documentaries, and I've got a few more to upload. But what I want to talk about is a program that was on the other day. I can't remember if it was on it was either BBC One or BBC Two, I can't remember, and it was called Parole. And I don't know, no, sometimes I'm just scrolling on the evening, I'm on my laptop, and there's programs I definitely watch, and then there's sometimes I'll just come across something which I think, oh, this sounds interesting. So it was about the Parole Board in the UK and how they make a decision about whether to release prisoners or not. And they're focused on two different prisoners, and I think it's going to be on again because it's where they're looking at different prisoners throughout the time. And I know it sounds boring, but it was really interesting. I know a few people who've been to prison for different things. I've worked as a youth justice. When I became a social worker, one of my placements was in the youth offending team, so I've done some work there. And I've also dated one person. Out of all my dating history, I've dated one person who was in and out of prison a lot, and he was a nice person as well. And this is the thing, I think the program, what it shows is that the three things I suppose that came out of it for me is one, the crime that someone does, and then the parole board listen to the person and they listen to what was going on at the time when they committed the crime, how long ago it was, what are the factors of them, the likelihood of them committing that crime again. That is like a massive gamble, or whatever you say, is something which, because you can't guarantee if someone has committed a crime whether they're going to commit they're a danger to society, or whether they're going to commit the same crime again. There's no one can, even with the parole board doing all the checks they can do. And I don't think they're trying to say that. All they're trying to do is to make a decision based on, I think the issue is they're trying to make a decision based on what the person says, what the person has done in their history, and what they predict or they feel or get a sense of the person may or may not do in the future in terms of other people. So it's about protecting the public, but also making the right decision of when this person should be released or if they should be released. And we all know stories about people who have been given life sentences when they're never going to be released. You know, you've got, is he called Charles Bronson or something like that, of someone, him who committed lots of violent offences. He didn't kill anyone, but because of how dangerous he is, they're saying that he can never be released. And then other people like Myra Hindley, and then all these other people that are never going to get out of prison. But with these two, there was one person who killed someone. So he killed his friend, and he planned it over, he spent a month planning, and I don't know what the reason was because I didn't catch all of it, but he was really angry with his friend and drugs were involved, and he killed his friend. So he's murdered someone, and they have to now determine whether to release him and on what grounds. And what was interesting for me is the way that he was explaining what he'd done. And he was very honest about the fact that he'd planned this for a month, that he went there and he, killed his friend. But what was the other part was when he was describing, because since he was in prison, he also kept someone hostage and injured another person, and he nearly killed that other person, except he could see the person was having a heart attack, and then he let him out. What was interesting is when they were saying to him, when you get angry, what are you going to do? And he was talking about all these techniques, things that we would be saying as counsellors, take a deep breath, do meditation and stuff. I don't know. There was something about, I don't know if I was 50-50 with this guy, because I didn't know if he was saying all of that stuff so that he would get released, and whether he really thinks that he would do that. And also, like they were saying, because he's been convicted of murder, which is probably the most serious crime, and then he's also tried to kill another person when he's been in prison. But they said he can go to an open prison now, and then he'll be released. So what they were saying is, because of the things that he was saying he would do now if he got angry, they were satisfied that he wouldn't be a danger. But he also said, they said to him, would you commit the same sort of crime now, the person that you are now? And he said, I don't know. That was interesting, and I think what I found interesting about that is, when people do this thing when they say never, and you don't know till you're in that situation. I don't agree with that as a person. I know what I would do in a situation. I can't say with every certainty that if someone was coming towards me and they were trying to kill me, that I would, run away. I would probably defend myself, but I know in certain other situations what I would or wouldn't do. But he was kind of saying, despite the fact he's murdered someone, despite the fact he's tried to murder another person when he's been in prison, and despite the fact that he's got all of these techniques, he still can't guarantee, he's saying, that what he would do in certain situations. And that for me was interesting, because with that person, they said yes to like parole and yes to open prison. The other guy, who he's got some issues because he's got issues with authority. So he beat up a police officer or two, I think. He didn't kill anyone, but he assaulted them badly enough. They had injuries. He's got anger problems, and you can tell because the way he talks, and he has got a thing with authority. But they said no to parole on him, because they said when he came out and he was in a halfway house or somewhere, and he didn't come back on time. But I found it interesting. I don't know why, because I would say that I felt the other person was more of a danger to society than the guy that like has a problem with authority. Because even though what he said is that if he was in a situation with the police, because he's admitted he doesn't like the police, and I think that's the whole thing, because the parole board are saying they're independent, but they are linked in a way to the prison service, and the parole board are linked with the police. They're part of the same institution, but they're trying to pretend they're independent. It's like the independent police cooperation, or whatever it's called, independent police authority. They're saying we're independent, but they're not. Because if you're police officers and you're investigating other police officers, you are biased anyway. And like this parole officer was trying to say how independent she is, but what he was trying to say is that he wouldn't put himself in a situation where that would happen again. And I believed what he was saying, because what he was trying to say was that he's not going to sit there and pretend that he likes the police. He doesn't. He's not going to sit there and say that if he gets into an interaction, but he didn't kill someone. He got into an interaction and he assaulted someone, so he deserves to do his time for that. But the way they were saying it is that they were saying he's a danger because he doesn't like authority. But there's loads of people walking around who don't like authority, because maybe at school there's someone done something as a teacher. There's people walking around who are angry, but it doesn't mean that they don't. But the person who murdered someone actually acted on his thoughts. He murdered someone, and then he went to prison and he held someone hostage and nearly murdered them. But they were saying that he's fine because he's got all these techniques. He's going to do meditation and stuff. And I don't know why, but I just thought, I was trying to work out what would I do if I was I wouldn't be on the parole board to start with, because I just don't know. But I just felt like they were being a bit more harsh towards the guy that was saying that he doesn't like authority. And I do think it's because they are authority and they are linked with the police indirectly, but they're pretending that they're not, because he didn't say anything that would lead like people to think that he's going to go out there and start beating up like the police, or he's going to like be angry with everyone. He's given his like explanation of that situation. So yeah, he should do his time, but why shouldn't he get the opportunity to go out and he's got like to his kids, whereas the other person said he doesn't know if he's in that situation and what he would do. And the other person has already shown that he's murdered someone, and he's shown that he can hold someone hostage and nearly murder them as well, but they're giving him like more grace. So it was interesting. If you've watched the program, let me know what you guys think. And, would you sit on a parole board? It's same as like the reason that even though I've not got like a criminal record, I've got nothing on my DBS and stuff, I wouldn't want to be on a jury either. This is the same thing, because you're always facing these dilemmas where you go with like what the law says, but then you also have to use your own like judgment on things. You also have to be like not biased and stuff. And I just don't know if it's even possible sometimes. I don't know even if like race and ethnicity came into it as well, with this guy saying that he was dual heritage and that he was talking about the racism. And then the black parole officer was saying she, as a black woman and this sort of thing. But I didn't even believe what she was saying, because I felt that she was just saying that to cameras to make it seem as though, I can relate to him because I'm black. And I don't even think that was even true. It didn't feel authentic to me, because she still wasn't taking into account what this guy was saying about like him. It should have been based on is that likely that he's going to go out there and be like beating up the police all the time? And he didn't. That didn't. What to me, it didn't come across as that. He didn't come across. Everyone's dangerous in their own ways, but I just thought, yeah, it's interesting, and there'll be more programs. There's more episodes about it, so it'll be interesting to watch and just see what they're taking into consideration when they're thinking about parole. So it's called Parole. I think it's on BBC Two. I don't know, and I don't know what date it comes on either. Not very, it's because I just came across it, but I'm sure if you Google it, it will say like where you can find it and when you can watch it. So let me know what you guys think if you've watched the program. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Thanks for watching. Bye.